Look at that. The chrome accents to the windows and everything are incredible. Now they get a look at the engine. Take a look at that. The hood is not there. The hood is not visible. So you can almost, with this detail, you can almost try and figure out how many cylinders this engine has to help identify it. No headlights available or visible. Looks like they were broken out. You've got some chrome accents on the fenders. Could be some marker lights. Take a look at the radiator. The radiator is clearly visible right there. Now they figure out there's a license plate. Imagine discovering a vintage car inside the wreck of a World War II aircraft carrier. That's exactly what happened when explorers returned to the site of the shipwreck of the USS Yorktown, the carrier CV-5 that went down during the Battle of Midway. I posted a short video about the discovery of that car. It actually occurred about a week ago, or at least it was news of it was released about a week ago. And many of you said you wanted to see the full footage. A lot of questions. So let's dive right in. Okay. NOAA, the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration. That's a long one. National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration. Yeah. So they returned to the wreck, which was originally discovered by Dr. Robert Ballard in 1998. Now, since then, an expedition went back in 2023, and now the NOAA expedition in 2025. And you can see here, the footage is incredible. I mean, the detail is amazing. And when they were there in 2023, the detail was great too. But this is incredible, incredible stuff. And this is actually a view of the island. This is the stack from the deck side of the carrier. Just incredible, incredible detail. As the expedition moved along, they were moving aft, and they made it to the aft hangar deck. This is actually another cool view of the stack right here. Some shell hits. Now, the Yorktown was eventually done in by 2 Japanese torpedoes. That's what sent it to the bottom. Well, the damage from those torpedoes sent it to the bottom. The crew fought really hard to keep it from sinking. And so even though the Japanese torpedoes caused it to take on water, it didn't sink right away. And as I said a few moments ago, the crew fought really hard to keep it from going down. They jettisoned all kinds of deck guns to try and balance it out, to put it back on an even keel. Unfortunately, it didn't work. They were able to get most of the crew off. 143 officers and crew, unfortunately, did eventually go down with the ship, but the remaining crew members were able to get off. So you can see some of the shell hits here. Now, we're here to talk about the car that was discovered. They get to this aft hangar bay, and they start to look inside. Now, like I said, the equipment that they had picked out details on things that couldn't have been picked out on a previous expedition. And you can see here, they see something. So they start zooming in. Check this out. That's where and you can kind of see hubcaps right there. You know. Now, and they're saying Pontiac, Ford, whatever. But the imagery here is still, it's kind of hard to see. So when I first came across this, I took some screenshots as it was being broadcast, and the quality, yeah. But you could see the hubcap clearly seen. Oh, there's a good image of it. Yeah. And at this particular point, they ran out of time. They were at the very, very end of the ROV's, I think it was battery power, and they had to go. If it wasn't for that last minute, last second, really, opportunity to look into the hangar bay, they might have totally missed the car. So if you think about it, it was almost blind luck that they were able to zoom in on that car and catch it. Now you can see here, as they're exiting the wreck, they're heading out, they're able to go by this 5-inch gun, which is super impressive. But now they've got to head to the surface. Okay, so now fast forward to the next video, the next day, which I think this was April 20th. In talking about the detail that you see with some of these cameras, they're able to zoom in on door plates, looking at this gun here. Look at the rifling that you can see. I mean, the rifling that's visible is incredible. Check out what they're able to do here. So they see this placard or this plaque, and they're going to zoom in on this thing. So the detail with these cameras, it's amazing. You can see this lettering totally visible. I'm going to hit mute. Yeah, there it is. So the lettering that is able to be picked up from so far away, something so small. And that's why this 2025 expedition that NOAA coordinated was so exceptional. They went down with just amazing, amazing equipment. Okay, they return to that aft hangar bay. They basically pick up where they left off yesterday, which was April 19th. Now it's April 20th. And they return to this hangar bay. And they want to find the vehicle that they spotted the day before. And as they adjust the resolution, as they adjust the lighting and the exposure, the outline of the car gets to be a little bit more pronounced. You can kind of, right there, yeah, hubcap, pillar. You can, there you go. You can kind of get the outline. There's a fender right there, another fender right there, and there's the roof. The movement, the movement of the camera kind of gets me, but there's definitely the opportunity to identify something, and you get the discussion going, the theories going. Is this a staff car? Is this a Jeep? Definitely not a Jeep when you see hubcaps like that, but you cover all angles. Here you go. Look at some of the chrome details, hubcaps, and so with some fine tuning of the cameras, again, hubcap, chrome detail on the fender. You get a little bit of the chrome on some of the window pillars, but the outline of the automobile is definitely there. And when you look at the back here, you start to see some chrome on the bumpers even. It looks like part of the hood is missing up here. And when you look at the roof, that also seems to be missing. And this is, I think, where, and I'm no car expert, but I think this is where a lot of the antique automobile experts started to realize that fabric top to the vehicle, definitely not metal. That also gave people clues as to what this could be. I just like staring at it. Okay, but you look at the back, and you can even spot a spare tire attached to the back of the vehicle. Oh, there's a good outline of the shape. So they were almost zoomed too tight in. You back out, as they're leaving this area, you can really see the detail of the car, and it's really tucked back in there, right? I mean, look, it's way back in there. All right, so they move out. I think it's just neat when they back out of the hangar bay like this. I think it's just incredible, incredible footage. It makes me want to dig into some of the other areas of the ship. But we're here to talk about the car. Oh, and this is kind of interesting. Okay, so they get around to they actually I think what they're doing here is they're going around the stern of the Yorktown. So they peeked in on one side. They got to look at the car. This is the stern of the Yorktown. They're taking a look at the lettering. You can kind of pick it up there. But what they're doing is they're going around back, and they're going to come in from the other side and try and get a better look at this vehicle that they found inside. If I'm rushing through or you don't like the pace at which I'm going, checking this out, and if you want to see the complete footage, consider becoming a member of History X, and you can watch all of this footage yourself. What they've done is they've come around, and now they're entering the aft hangar bay from the other side. So, and you're gonna this is actually the vantage point that made it into the media, and this is where I first heard about it. They pan down, and there it is. There it is. So, when they zoom in, they realize, all right, we're getting a look at the vehicle from a different angle. From here, a lot of people did think it was a Jeep because this was the only image. It was actually a screenshot that was taken and put out. I think the Miami Herald had it, CBS had it, and when it went public, a lot of people took a look at this view and it's like, oh, okay, that's a Jeep. You see the tire on the back, right there. You see the tire, flat windscreen. So people were thinking that they were seeing the front of a Jeep. Car enthusiasts said, no, that's no Jeep. and they knew exactly what they were looking at. Some type of 1940s. A lot of people have said a Ford Woody, wooden sides. Other people have said a Mercury or a Plymouth. But take a look at the detail that this camera equipment is able to give you. It's just amazing. The fact that this thing is lying there in this hangar of the USS Yorktown just blows my mind. Sitting there on 4 tires. When you look in the back, you can see the steering wheel right there. Bench seat. The rear windows right here. I'm assuming these tubular structures are for the roof, which, okay, so like I was saying before, sides are solid. This roof must have been some type of canvas that rotted away over the decades and now is hanging. They're zooming in here. I don't know what this thing is. That kind of looks like a beer can. I doubt it. But if anyone that's into cars knows what this stuff is, this curved piece right here, obviously that's a spare tire. But if any car enthusiasts know, I'd love to hear it. Put it in the comments below and let the rest of us know what it is that we're looking at. When you zoom out, it's kind of important to regain perspective, because you can, for me, you're keying in on these details and it's like, whoa, all right, back up, take a look, and then let's zoom in again. And look at the detail on the tire, the spare tire that you're picking up with this camera. The ridges, the tread. This was interesting. So indulge me here. They've been looking for aircraft that went down with the ship during the Battle of Midway. And previous expeditions weren't able to really locate any. Well, this clearly is an aircraft wing. And you know that because, well, the structure of the wing, but you can see inside these little access inspection panels the green primer, that is aluminum oxide primer, that is typical with aircraft construction. So this is at least a wing. Look at that. You see the insignia. That's a star right there. So this is at least an aircraft wing. Fabric covered control surfaces right there. As they zoom out, you can see it. So this was pretty exciting too. The fact that they were able to see, you know, a piece of an aircraft. Now, they go back, and now check this out. More car. So the car was lying next to a wing, which I think is pretty cool. Now, this is, again, a third vantage point. We're at the back of the car, and we're moving forward. Yeah, because there's the back end of the car. You've got the structure supporting possibly the roof. This tube structure, possibly the roof. And clearly you can tell I'm not interested in biology at all, because you've got some some creatures attaching themselves to the cabling here. I don't care about that. I didn't do well in biology, so that is not my thing here. But they zoom out and they get past this, I don't know if that's a support. It looks like, actually, like it's a piece of wood that's rotting away. So they get past that. Now they get a look at the engine. So this is where it gets really interesting. Look at that. You know, like the chrome accents to the windows and everything are incredible. The pilot and the co-pilot are able to maneuver the ROV to get us these views. Just absolutely amazing. This is the engine compartment that I was telling you about. So take a look at that. The hood is not there. The hood is not visible. But so you can almost, with this detail, you can almost try and figure out how many cylinders this engine has to help identify it. No headlights available or visible. Looks like they were broken out. You've got some chrome accents on the fenders. Could be some marker lights. Take a look at the radiator. The radiator is clearly visible right there. Now they figure out there's a license plate. Okay, so take a look at the license plate. Some chrome accents on the bumper. And as the ROV kind of continues forward, you're able to make out the word ship on that license plate. Looks like it's hand lettered. The rest of it appears to be corroded, but you can kind of make out some words. So it's clearly ship, space, and then is that an S, E? Maybe a V? So the R, if it's service, S-E, the R is corroded away, then V-I. It's really hard to say. But because of the detail, as they zoom out, because of the detail that these cameras are able to give us, you know, you're able to take a look at that license plate, this bumper. I love seeing the radiator, the engine behind it. The hood is missing, but this could be the hood right here. Take a look at that. So if you're looking at this video footage, let me know if some of you think that's the hood to this car. I think it is. There's the wing. There's the wing again. But even seeing the car way off in the distance, in the background there, is pretty cool. And it's going to be there forever, you know? It's just sitting down there in the middle of this shipwreck, the shipwreck of the Yorktown. So if it wasn't for the NOAA expedition, the quality of the equipment that they took down there, never would have found it. Okay, so what was this car? So often the ship's captain, the commanding officers would have staff cars, carriers, cruisers, battleships. The Yorktown also had an admiral on board. You would have a staff car, staff cars maybe plural, depending on the size of the ship, that would be available for meetings, shore leave, and so when they would dock, when they'd pull into port, they would pull these cars, these vehicles out of storage. When I originally posted the shortened version of this video yesterday, I called it a civilian car. And many of you corrected me and said, no, 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 no. That is a staff car, or that is a military vehicle. It's not a civilian car. So, my apologies. When the Yorktown went down, that's another thing. When the Yorktown went down, it actually rolled over first. It capsized. So this car took a tumble. And then as the Yorktown sunk, it obviously righted itself. It's in about 2.5 miles of water. So as it went down, it obviously rotated itself around. So this car and this wing here obviously tumbled quite a bit. So when the hood came off, it makes sense that it was still kind of in the same area. Now, after I posted the original video, I wanted to get to some of your comments, and we'll pick out maybe 2 or 3. A lot of you are saying, yes, definitely a staff vehicle. And as recently, let's see, who is this? Mike Ray 1544 said that he obviously served in the Navy. Even as recently as the 90s, they would have staff cars on, the COs would have staff cars on some of these Navy ships. In olive drab. Criticism. Yeah, so what do you think it is? I'm pretty sure the video is a story that could be shown and told in less than a minute. Yes, of course it could be, okay? These videos are for the people that want to take the time and see the footage. And I'm one of those people. Here is, let's see, Greg, Maggie Lipscomb, 9246. I think it's a 41 or a 42 Ford Woody wagon. The fender lines are not a 40, 1940. Now that's very interesting. If it was a 41 or 42, you got to be careful because you got to remember the Yorktown went down during the Battle of Midway in 1942. So if it was a 42 Ford Woody, it would have had to have been, you know, one of the first ones produced and somehow made it onto the ship. But a 41 definitely makes sense. Let's see, the thumbnail is not the same as what's in the video. That is correct. This thumbnail was actually AI generated, and I wanted to explain that to a couple of people, to a lot of the viewers, because to take screenshots and screenshots that don't necessarily belong to any particular YouTube channel and post them as the thumbnail, that can be a copyright violation. So you're absolutely correct. It's not the same. A lot of these thumbnails are AI generated because, well, we don't own those images, so we can't just use them for thumbnails. I'm very, very careful about violating somebody else's copyrights to imagery, footage. A lot of the footage that I use for my videos come from the National Archives, and that, you know, that's free use. Here, I want to make sure, and you'll see above me in the footage that was used, the logo is clear for NOAA, the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration. That's a long one. Other people are saying it's a Woody. Some people don't like the music I put with the original video. Sorry for that. This comment here, can you get the serial number, license plate number, proof of registration, and insurance, sir? But looking at how much detail you can get with the camera equipment that NOAA had, it makes you wonder if you couldn't get a look at the VIN. I'll bet you could. Let's see. Admirals and generals could transport anything they wanted. Yeah. No doubt a personal staff car. Too bad it can't be raised. That would be something, right? Let's see. The first shown vehicle could indeed be a 1941 Woody, either Ford or Mercury, probably belonging to the captain, or if an admiral was aboard, as we said before, as a staff car. Let's see. I was stationed aboard an LPD during the latter part of Vietnam. The captain didn't have his own personal car, but we carried 3 vehicles aboard at all times. That's interesting. I didn't really know that that was something that was done. You obviously know about staff cars for officers in the Army, but and maybe in the Navy land-based. I just did not know that they carried vehicles with them on these ships. So I learned I learned a lot with this. This comment here, obviously not a 1944 car of any model because the Yorktown went down in 42. Yeah, this okay. And then this comment here, one of the observers, I don't know her name, the only woman that was involved in the video. I don't know her name, but she was there as more of an oceanographer. She had some type of biology background, and so she was more of an observer commenting on different organisms, plant life, that type of thing. So she was not there as an expert on U.S. Navy warships
That's a car.
or any of the history
That's a
there.
car.
So
That is
when
a
she
car.
said,
Why is there a car on this boat?
that's why she did that. She was there as more of a biological consultant than a military consultant. Another comment, it looks very much like a 40 Ford Woody. Let's see, Night Train 98. We often carried staff cars for flag officers and CO. Don't see why they could not have done the same back then. In our time, we usually carried a van or two. Okay, again, I didn't know that. That's very interesting. Here's a comment. Let's see, it's not a civilian car, it's a staff car, which more likely it was being transported for some reason. But during Midway is kind of odd that they would have had it aboard during an actual mission. Interesting point. The Yorktown had just come from the Battle of the Coral Sea, and it was damaged pretty badly. So it was able to get back to Pearl Harbor. They turned it around in, I think it was 48 or 72 hours because they knew they needed to prepare for some action at Midway. They had intercepted some transmissions, Japanese transmissions. We had broken the IJN code, the Imperial Japanese Naval Code, and knew that something was happening or going to be happening at Midway. They needed to turn the carrier around fast, repair whatever damage they could in that short amount of time, and maybe they just didn't have the time to take the car off. But you raise an interesting question here. I'd like to, maybe somebody knows the answers to that. And the last comment we'll take again, sure looks like an old Ford Woody, including the split front and rear windshields and the rear mounted spare tire. That was from John Bergen, 9663. If you're interested in diving into more of this footage, I'm going to be creating some other videos, but I'm also going to post this footage in the members section of History X. So if you'd like to see NOAA's complete exploration of the USS Yorktown CV-5, please become a History X member. We'd love to have you join us. My name's Ken Stano. Thank you for checking out History X.